All right, Joe, let me ask you a question. Have you ever told yourself that you have to do something? I know that I certainly have, and I'm just as guilty of it as anybody else. But what if I told you that telling yourself that is actually a prison and holding you back from ever achieving your full potential? And after running a 7-figure business and setting a school home run record at my last Division I school I went to 3 Division I schools actually, I've learned that everything in this life is a choice and that we can choose whatever reality that we want for ourselves. Now, I know that may seem a little bit far-fetched because you might be thinking, oh, well, my circumstances prevent me from getting to where I want to go, or, my genetics are limiting me from really achieving the outcomes that I want. And trust me, I used to feel the exact same way. But have you ever considered the fact that you don't have to do anything? And the best way that I can describe this concept is by looking back at my baseball career. Now, I felt so attached to baseball. I felt that baseball was my entire identity. And when I stopped playing baseball, I didn't know who I was. I went through this gigantic identity crisis, and it's allowed me to come to this conclusion that the entire time I was choosing to play baseball, despite the fact that I felt as if I had to play. I needed to play. And so as a result of that, I played the game very, very scared. I was afraid to make a mistake because my entire identity was in baseball, wasn't how good I was as a baseball player. And so my whole self-worth was at stake every single pitch. Every time I got a ground ball, my self-worth was at stake. If I threw this away, then boom, I'm a bad person. If I went up to the plate and I struck out, I'm a bad person. But on the contrary, if I made a great play, boom, I'm on top of the world. And I chose to play baseball. I chose to show up to the field every day. I chose to go to 4 schools. But all of these decisions that I made in my life, I made out of a place of fear, out of a place of scarcity, out of a place of necessity. And I was on a call with my mindset coach yesterday, and he said something so interesting because I was telling him, I feel as if I can create any reality that I want in my life. I just have to choose that reality and then act in alignment with whatever it is required to accomplish that goal. Because at the end of the day, information is not what holds people back from achieving success. Because if it was, then everybody would have 6-pack abs and be a millionaire. Because all the information is out there. So why is not everybody super ripped and super rich? Despite the fact that all the information, the step-by-step blueprint is out there on YouTube, is out there on Instagram. You can look it up on Google. Why do some people achieve that and some people don't? Well, because when you choose a specific reality for yourself, number one, you have to believe that you can actually choose your reality. A lot of people feel as if their reality is given to them. And since they feel as if their reality is given to them, they make decisions out of necessity. I have to do this because this is the life that was given to me. That's not true. When I was on a call with my mindset coach, he was like, well, Nick, you could just end the call right now and go do whatever if you wanted to. And I started laughing. It's like, dude, he's right. I could literally shut my laptop right now, sell everything, go off the grid, and never talk to anybody again. I could do that if I wanted to. I could choose to do that. So if that is an option for me, if that is a reality for me, then every single struggle and piece of stress that I go through on a day-to-day basis, I am choosing to deal with that because I don't have to. A lot of people, they get into relationships and they look at their partner and they start to resent them and they feel all this negative energy towards them, but you are choosing to be with that person. And it all stems back to the feeling of not being enough, of living from the outside in, getting your validation from the external world and letting the external world tell you who you should be. That's how most people live. they look around, they look at their situation, they see how other people interact with them, and they form their own opinion about themselves. Now, the people who actually get what they want in this life, they look internally, they figure out who they are and what they want, and they act in accordance with the reality that they want, which creates the life that they want. So everybody else looks around and now goes, oh, you're Nick with the 7-figure business, and you care about your health, and you care about your friends, and whatever else that you might think about me, right? But I've carefully constructed every single aspect of my life by choice, by design. I have chosen this reality. And the more I lean into that concept, the more I lean into understanding that I can choose whatever it is that I want, it gives me a lot more freedom. It gives me a lot more power. I can choose to be an IFBB pro if I wanted to. There are things that I have to do in order to become an IFBB pro, like I'm probably gonna have to take a bunch of steroids. I'm probably gonna have to weigh every single ounce of food that I have for the next 5 years. I'm going to have to likely sacrifice years on my body in order to accomplish that reality. And a lot of people will pedestalize these goals that they have for themselves, and they see them as all good. They don't see the bad that could potentially come with it. Or if you're a fan of Trevor Moawad, he would say that everything just is, and everything is neutral, and we ascribe meaning to these things as good and bad, but those are just constructs of our own mind. So because we pedestalize these goals and these outcomes, we only see the good side of it, and we look up at it and we want these things. We want them so bad. And all you're doing when you're saying, I want this outcome, is creating a gap between where you are right now and where you want to be. So the answer then is just to choose, I am going to be this person, and acting in alignment with whatever it is that you want. Acting in alignment with that person already. And then as time goes on, eventually the world around you will notice you or recognize you as that person, but you've been that person the entire time. There's a lyric in a Drake song that I absolutely love. It's in the song Underground Kings. And I used to love this song. Like, it speaks to my soul. And Drake has a lyric in there that says, I said I was the greatest before I knew I was. And to me, that speaks to the fact that Drake had a vision. Whether you like Drake or you don't like Drake, you can't deny that he is an international icon and one of the best artists of all time. And it speaks to his vision of what he saw for himself. He saw that within himself and expressed that out into the world and told everybody else, this is who Drake is. And he said it and he acted like it. And he did it over and over and over and over again until now there's an argument to say Drake is the greatest artist of all time. A lot of the older people watching this will say, no way, but yeah, I mean, come on, look at the records, right? So anyway, once you understand that you can choose any reality that you want for yourself, whether you're in a relationship right now or you're in a job. For example, let's say you're working a 9-to-5 job right now and you feel like you have to go to work. No, you don't. No, you don't. You could quit. There are consequences. There are consequences that will come as a result of you quitting that job, but you don't have to go to work. You don't have to do anything. And at the end of the day, there are so many safety nets that we put up in society that if you quit your job, you're not going to go homeless, you're going to be fine, you're going to live, you're going to figure it out. But most people are so scared, they feel like they have to do whatever it is. They have to go to college. I felt like I had to go to college. I felt like I had to play baseball. I felt like I had to go to class. When in reality, I chose every single one of those things. And as a result, I had a lot of resistance to doing those things, and I had a lot of fear because of the expectation that I was placing upon myself that I thought was coming from other people, when in reality, all of that is made up. We are choosing the reality that we want. We are choosing the decisions that we want. And as soon as you can get that through your head and you realize that life is a culmination of the choices and the decisions that you make in the day-to-day, compounded over your entire lifetime, then all you must do is figure out what choices lead to the desired reality that you currently have in your mind right now, become that person in your mind already, and then just act in accordance with it. And everybody else will start to look at you as that person. But if you're waiting for the world to tell you who you are, you will constantly act out of necessity, because the world tells you that this is who you are, so I must act like this, and I have to act like this, right? Choose your reality. Choose who you want to be. Act in accordance with that. Be that person before the world knows that you are. And eventually, over an extended period of time, the world will start to recognize you as that person. But you have to have the courage to go against the grain and act how you know deep down that you actually are, and stop acting out of necessity. Stop acting out of fear. Start acting out of alignment with who you deep down truly know that you are. And when you do that, anything is possible. The limits do not exist, in a quote of Mean Girls. So, hopefully this video was valuable for you. This is one of the most powerful realizations I've ever made in my entire life. And I wanted to share it with the world, because if more people thought this way, we'd probably have a happier, healthier, and more successful society. All right, y'all. Catch you in the next one. Peace.